Right then, this is a quick walk around video, and this is for a Honda Civic, and it's the 2.2 ES diesel. First of these newer shaped ones on this vintage, finished in black. Car's really lovely, covered just over 70,000 miles. I'll go around the car for you and pick up on anything that's immediately obvious. But the front of the car here is very clean and tidy. Lights, lenses completely clear and intact, and front bumper, apart from a few splash wounds where it's gone through a couple of puddles, is very, very clean indeed. In fact, at the front of the car, it's probably the only obvious exterior mark on the car, but even that's relatively minor as well. Just on the leading edge of the bonnet, hopefully you can just see there, you've got that little dimple dent, which has been touched in by the last chap. It's probably the size of a sort of, put my kind of thumbnail to it. It's smaller than my thumbnail, but it is there, and that's the whole point of the video. When you look at the car, you hardly even notice it's there, in all honesty. But that's the point of the videos. Apologise, lovely sunny day, which I shouldn't apologise for because it's glorious, but not very good for doing videos. But near side of the car, really smooth and clean in the panel work. Gorgeous looking upgraded alloys on the car. Just a little bit of light pickling right on the outside of the alloy on this one, which is exactly what you'd expect on this vintage of car, in all honesty. But the panels themselves are very, very clean indeed. Side rear alloy, and inside rear alloy again, very, very good. And then come around the side, again, really nice and clean. Back of the car, it's a bit kind of shady with the sunlight. Trust me, I can't see a mark really back there at all. I'm going to come backwards down this side, because then I won't have the glare of the sun. Offside rear alloy, again, really, really nice. And then, as I said, if I can, I'll try and walk backwards just to show the remaining panels, which are absolutely lovely. And finally, offside front alloy, again with just a tiny bit of pickling right on the outside, which you could easily get done. I mean, you don't have to do the wheels, just got the outside to do. It's a 5-minute job. But externally, the car's in absolutely beautiful condition given the age and mileage of the vehicle. Coming into the boot area of the car, which, as you probably already know, they are huge on these Civics. Really nicely finished as well. You see, you've got your usual 60/40 rear seat fold there. What's clever about these Hondas, of course, is you get this extra little stowage area underneath here. So just give it a pull back, drop it down, and you've got another sort of 7 or 8 inches of boot depth there as well. Coming to the back of the car now, all again in really, really lovely condition. Seat fabrics are really nice, kept very, very well. I'm not cheating, those front seats are both set for me, and I'm over 6 foot tall, so you can see just how much rear legroom you still get, even with a massive boot. Passenger front door card, again, all really clean and tidy. The little recesses really nicely kept. This footwell area is again really nice. And front passenger seat, not been given a lot of use, in all honesty. And you just come to the driver's door card, again, absolutely fantastic condition. Driver's seat, again, been kept really, really nice with only the tiniest amount of wear that you'd expect, again, of the age of the car. So sat inside the car now, engine's running, so dashboard can be seen illuminated through this part of the video, but it's absolutely fantastic condition again, been kept really, really nicely. I'm just panning up here, hopefully, if I can avoid the wire snagging. You can see there 70,735 miles, and there are no warning lights on the dashboard at all. The dashboard itself, and that is pretty much the view you get as a driver. It's just a wonderful, wonderful dash design. It really is beautifully made, as you expect by Honda. Just a joy to use day in, day out. Just to quickly show you, owner's manual pack is here, as is very importantly the locking wheel nut key. So finally, just to come under this beautifully presented engine bay, as you'd expect from a Honda car. Fantastic engines, they really are. Cam chain driven, no cam belts on them at all to worry about, so no big service looming. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 2.2 ES diesel. This particular car is registered, if I can read it, RF61FVT and mileage at the start of the road test is 70,735 miles. The reason we do the road test is basically so that if you're looking at this car in an advert online, you actually get to see that very car in operation. Lots of our customers now travel from the whole of the UK, Europe in fact, to come and see our cars. So the least we can do is to go the time and effort to do this for you. We know just how frustrating it can be to go and see cars and describe as, as good, and then when you get there, you drive it and find it's got a fundamental problem which you clearly should have been told about before setting off. So that is exactly why we do this. It's also done on these very quiet country roads, very, very close to our premises, so hopefully it would be representative of what you'd feel yourself if offered a test drive in the car. By the way, we are literally just a few minutes off the M5. You'd never believe it when you got out here, it's so quiet, but it really does make for very, very easy access to us. Just wait here a second. I'm going to lose that fight with him. There we are, good chap. Don't see too many combine harvester headers going down the road. The car itself, engine starts absolutely instantly, of course, as you'd expect from this engine. Settles to a completely smooth, even idle. But the engine themselves are lovely because they're not only are they very smooth, very quiet in operation, but they're just lovely to use day in, day out. Because unlike a lot of diesels, they don't have that kind of huge turbo lag to begin with and then drop off towards the top end. It's got a lovely power delivery all the way from about 1500 RPM round to its red line. It doesn't sort of peak and trough, which I hate in some manufacturers, but it's just a lovely, lovely engine. There are no warning lights, of course, on the dashboard relating to the engine or any other part of the car. Very, very fuel efficient, by the way. The fuel economy figures, can be achieved relatively easily, actually, and we know that's not always the case. Engine then feeds through into clutch and gearbox. Clutch is perfect, bike point exactly where it should be, and the pedal is lovely and smooth in operation. Gearbox, obviously a 6-speed gearbox, and an absolute lesson in how to do gearboxes on cars. Honda really concentrate very hard on their kind of what they call their primary controls, and the gearbox is one of the most fundamental parts of it, so it can really ruin a car if it otherwise drives nicely, only to find it's got a really kind of sloppy, awkward gear change. This one, is just the absolute opposite of that. It's exactly what you want. It's very accurate, very precise, but it's got a lovely kind of weighting to it, which makes it feel, really mechanical. That's hard to achieve when you've got a gear lever here, joined to the gearbox underneath by cables. But it's I can't feel any wear in it at all. It feels exactly as it should. On the road, steering's always been a really strong point on these Civics. It tracks absolutely dead straight, by the way. There's no vibrations at all that come through it at the speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But it's a lovely power steering system. It's very precise. As I said, it's very accurate. I can't feel any wear through it at all. Again, just feels absolutely as new in that sense to drive. And it matches the chassis beautifully because the chassis is very agile. It's very quick to change direction. You can have, if the steering doesn't complement it, it can kind of ruin the whole driving experience. Chassis, by the way, when you hit a bump like that, you should hear it hitting a bump, of course, although subdued. But there's no kind of nasty sort of clonks or bangs coming from underneath, which obviously would suggest sort of suspension wear. Worth pointing out, the car, once I finish this test drive, will be going off to have a brand new MOT placed upon it, and that'll be done by an independent garage. We don't do our own MOTs. The chassis, again, also what it manages to combine is a genuine agility. It's very, very agile, and it's fun. It flows beautifully. Damping's brilliant on it, but it also gives a really comfortable ride. It was a criticism aimed at the last generation, which shared the floor pan of this one, that the suspension was too unforgiving. I actually never felt it that way. I thought it was actually perfectly acceptable and nice to drive, whereas this is just so smooth by comparison to the last generation. They've really smoothed everything out, Only the very sharpest ridges, as with any car, will catch it out. Other than that, it's wonderfully smooth on the road. Just going to turn around here. Just going to give the brakes a bit of a shove. I know they're good. They've already had a look underneath them as part of the service of the vehicle, but I'm sure no one's there. So really nice solid brake pedal. What I'm looking for on the brakes, by the way, is when you hit the brakes, shouldn't be any kind of juddering or vibrations, and there's nothing at all on this. And the car should pull down nice and straight. It shouldn't sort of pull violently left or right. And everything good in that respect. Looking around inside the car, I've done hundreds of videos on Civics, and I never tire of this dashboard. I think it's absolutely brilliant because it's, fundamentally it's lovely to look at and use, but it's ultimately very practical and beautifully made, by the way. The whole car is. There's not a hint of a squeak or a rattle from the interior. Honda bolt these things together really, really well. Everything's working beautifully as well. Air conditioning's absolutely ice cold on the car. But it's the quality of the switchgear which impresses. Every button has a brilliantly damped actuation to it. It seems like a trivial thing, but if you drive one of these with 200,000 miles on the clock, they still feel like that, and that's good for the longevity of these components. But you've got a radio that's simplicity itself. But my favourite part is this high-up display. So up the top there, you've got your information display to the top left, which obviously as soon as you engage reverse, you've got your rear parking camera, which works perfectly, by the way. Then this, it is genius, this high-up digital display for your speedo. It basically means you can keep your eyes on the road at all time, but also keep your eye on your speed. You don't have to take your eyes off the road for a second. It's absolutely brilliant in the way it operates. And when you're in economy mode, those blue lights that flank it will subtly change to green the more economically you're driving. It's very effective, actually, because it is subtle. It's not something that sort of really gets on your nerves. You do have a little a gear change prompter as well, by the way, just to remind you to change up if you're holding the gears too long. But it just works brilliantly. Down below that, you've got a more conventional pod of 3 dials, obviously a big rev counter in the middle, fuel gauge to the right and temperature gauge to the left. Temperature gauge, by the way, running at a 1/3, which is exactly where it should be on a Honda car. Obviously auto lights, auto wipers, cruise control, all works exactly as intended, but just lovely to sit in and operate. It really is. And I know it doesn't appeal to everybody, and actually that's one of the things I like about it. It's an interior that polarizes opinion. The practicality can't, because it's just amazingly practical in here, but the actual architecture of the dashboard, as I said, I just think is a breath of fresh air compared to the conformity of most of them. As I said at the start of the video, the point of it, as brief as it is just basically to show you the car in operation, and the car drives absolutely superbly. It really does. If there's any issues, you get to know about it. We've been working with Hondas for over 20 years now, so we've got a lot of experience of them. So if there's something fundamentally wrong, it would flag up straight away, but there's nothing at all. It drives absolutely fantastically well. If you've got any questions about the car, don't hesitate, please do give us a call.